Hi, I'm Brenda Croft. I was born in Perth in 1964. My parents had come over here in 1962, and this series of work that I'm standing in front of in my mother's garden was created here in Perth in 1998, and it's based on my earliest memories of living here in the 60s, but also returning here in the 90s, and is layered with text and lots of memories following the loss of my brother Lindsay and my father Joe. My parents came over here in 1962, straight after they got married. They were married in June 1962 in Sydney and drove across the Nullarbor pretty much straight away after that. My dad was working on the state railways to help change over the standard gauge. So and I've got him on tape talking about how he literally walked from Perth to Kalgoorlie on the train line to help relay it. And he'd also done that in Queensland from Townsville to Mount Isa. So he loved doing that. I think he really loved that solitude. He was a member of the Stolen Generations, and so he had been taken away from his family as a very small child and wasn't reunited with his mother and many siblings until the early 70s. I know for my mother it was particularly hard because she was in her early 20s, newly married, and prior to me being born really didn't know anybody over here. She felt very isolated, I think, and she also felt incredibly scrutinised being a young white woman married to an Aboriginal man. Lindsay was an incredible go-getter. He was on numerous committees as a university student and was the president of the National Indigenous Students Union and Young Canberran of the Year in '92, and was going on to what you would imagine was probably big things, and it was overseas at Harvard University in '94 and had just finished a Harkness Fellowship there and been working in Santa Fe with a Native American school, college school, when there was a car accident and he was killed in that. And in many ways that was when my father started to leave us, I guess, because I look back at photographs from that period and it's almost as if he's starting to vanish out of them. It just completely knocked him around. Losing sort of half your family in less than 2 years, you're quite merrily going along your life. You're in your, I just turned 30 and everything's out there, and I hadn't really had any experience of things like that. And then there was this kind of series of stuff, and in many ways that experience also made me who I am. I mean, all the experiences in your life make you who you are, obviously, because they compound. Well, the work that's behind me in my mother's garden is the actual title work for the series, and the obvious reason for that is that I'm standing with my parents. I think it was Christmas Day 1966, about to go to church. We're dressed in our Sunday best, or Christmas Day best I should say, and the outfits my mother and I are wearing, she made all of them. She did millinery as well as fantastic seamstress, and I think it's a perfect encapsulation of me as a small child who hated wearing dresses for the most part. But I love the image because I think it reflects quite a lot about my personality. I was a stubborn little kid and I loved to kind of free range around that part of where we lived. I liked the garden. We're in the front garden that my dad designed. I've always worked as a writer as well as a visual artist, and I guess I've curated my series of works. I like to layer things, and I've always done that with works anyway, and so the idea of playing with texts, I kind of collect comments that people make or statements that people make. There's a work in the series that is based around a statement my mother made to me saying, I never got used to the heat, because I asked her what was her strongest memory about living over here at that time, and I loved the kind of double entendre of that. I never got used to the heat of being observed, or the heat from what we know is the climate here in the southwest. And you know, all of those kinds of things. The image next to it, I love the fact that these are juxtaposed, because this is one of the actual roses that my parents had planted, which was still there in '94 when I took that image, and it's overlaid with an image of my parents, either just after they'd gotten engaged, or I think my grandparents took that image of my mum and dad in their garden in Dianella, because I've been going back through the original images and having a look. And Mum wrote on all of the slides, so I'm lucky she wrote me little notes. But both my parents were keen amateur photographers, so I have a wealth of material to draw upon, and I'm still uncovering material as well. I've just discovered a whole lot of slides in my maternal grandparents' belongings that went to my mother after she died, that are from this period that I'd never seen, but they're kind of familiar. And then I realised she'd taken them out of groups of slides and sent them to my grandparents. You know, this is pre-digital obviously, so I'm working on a project with those at the moment.